Hello, Bronco fans and football fans everywhere. Welcome to Broncos Breakdown on the MHRT Network. This is a show that is everything Broncos and brought to you with emotion, passion, honesty, and of course, my comments. I am your host, Bronco Bill. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining in and watching, whether you're watching or listening, whether you're in the chat, whatever you're doing and you're tuned into this show. Thank you guys, each and every one of you, so much. Really appreciate it. Before I get into the topics, which are 99.9% of the Broncos, which it should be, I just want to tell everybody out there, because my next show, we got the neighborhood on Sunday night, and then I have the Elevation Orange on Monday, which is will be the recap of the Vikings Broncos game. But my Friday show, Broncos Breakdown, next Friday will be after Thanksgiving. So I want to just give a shout out to everybody out there. Have a wonderful, wonderful, safe Thanksgiving. Be thankful and grateful for all the many blessings you have in your life. And don't forget that, it's about family. It's about friends. It's about giving thanks for all your many blessings. So I want to say to each and every one of you out there, have a wonderful, wonderful, safe Thanksgiving this coming Thursday. All right, guys, let's get into the show. First and foremost, Broncos at Bills recap. Now, I know at the end of the neighborhood show on Monday night was, obviously quite late, from Mike being 2 hours ahead in Nebraska. He didn't have time, I should say, to set up the Elevation Orange. So I kind of did a recap. So I'd like to do that right now. Not a full length, but more or less like a flyover. So here we go. The game between the Broncos and the Bills wasn't perfect because there were penalties and missed extra points. But when it counted most, the Broncos came through with 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles, as well as a fantastic touchdown catch and toe drag by Courtland Sutton. Now, if you guys have not seen the replays or the highlights of that Broncos Bills game, you got to go to YouTube and watch it. If nothing else, type in Courtland Sutton catch against the Buffalo Bills for a touchdown. It is absolutely spectacular. But as much as I love that catch, it wouldn't have happened if Russell Wilson didn't do what Russell Wilson did. And that is he scrambled out of the pocket. He rolled, but here's the tricky part. He rolled to his left, being chased by a Bills defender, threw the ball on an absolute dart. And I don't mean straight. I mean, he arced it up like this and dropped it right into Courtland Sutton, right on the sideline of the end zone. And Courtland Sutton, here's the sideline. Courtland Sutton's foot, let me get it this way. Here's the sideline. Courtland Sutton's foot is like right there, and then he toe drags it. And just amazing, amazing catch. But Russell Wilson made that play. Oh, did I tell you? No, I didn't. It was 4th and 2 on, I think, the Bills' 13-yard line, 15-yard line, 17, something like that. 4th and 2, and they're passing the ball. I'm like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? I was screaming bloody murder, kick the frickin' field goal. I was screaming, kick the frickin' field goal. Nope. They go for it. And oh my gosh, what an incredible play. All right, I continue. However, the game came down to literally the last seconds with the Broncos, when the Broncos rushed Lutz onto the field to kick the winning field goal. However, the kick went wide right, and everyone, including myself, thought Denver had lost 22-21. But the Bills were called for too many men on the field, and Lutz got another try. He didn't miss it. This time, right down the middle. Final score, Denver 24, Buffalo 22. And Buffalo was favored by 8 in that game. 7.5 or 8 in that game. Absolutely remarkable game by the Denver Broncos. That makes it 3 in a row. And I'll get into some other stuff as we lead up to this Sunday night game at home against the Minnesota Vikings in prime time. All right. I'm wearing the all blues. Obviously, that's what the Broncos will be wearing this coming Sunday. And I'll get into that in just a little bit. But what a beast is batting leadoff. He's in the house. Says hi. No, I'm sorry. He says, hit that like button everywhere. Hey, Bill, I say, hey, Born a Beast. Thank you so much for saying hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Takes no effort. Takes one little click of your finger. That's all it takes. Doesn't cost you anything, but it really does help the channel and it helps this show. Really appreciate it. All right, let's move on. This is interesting, and I never heard of this before. But then again, I never was a New Orleans Saints fan. So probably why. Bills Broncos, excuse me, I'm getting tongue-tied. Bills logo on the Broncos practice field. What? We got the Bills logo on the Broncos practice field? What the heck is that all about? Here we go. When the Denver Broncos players took to the practice field at Dove Valley last Tuesday, they saw the Buffalo Bills logo on the 50-yard line. Uh-oh. Did the grounds crew screw up? Did they make a mistake? Why would you put the Buffalo Bills logo on the 50-yard line of the Broncos practice field? Because it's psychological, guys. It's psychological. Here we go. When Sean Payton, that is, was asked about why the logo is on the field, he said, and I quote, "It's funny. I've done that for years, and it was always to acclimate our players. We used to do it all the time in New Orleans, and our equipment guys had it down pat. It's all computer generated. The Bills logo is strictly just we're going on the road, and we're trying to simulate the look. So you'll see it the rest of the time I'm here as head coach. And anytime we're playing a game on the road, their logo will be at the 50-yard line." End quote. Wow. Guess it worked. I guess it worked. Think about it, guys. You go onto your own field. Okay. You're familiar with the surroundings. You have, the familiarities. You got the, Rocky Mountains, off in the distance. And, you've got, you feel comfortable about where you are because you're used to it. It's home, except when you look at the field and see the team you're playing against upcoming with their logo on your field. That, to me, that would do one of two things, if not both. One, it would infuriate me and make me just more focused because I'm like, why is that logo on our field? All right, we're going to go to their stadium and take it to them. That's how I would feel. The other thing is I would look at it and say, all right, now you're getting me in the mindset that we are in Orchard Park, New York. And I wouldn't doubt if they didn't simulate, crowd noise and things like that to simulate being in Buffalo. There probably was a cold day when they were out there. I don't know. But it makes sense to not only get physically prepared to play a game, but to get mentally prepared to play a game. And mentally prepared is not always just looking at the playbook or just knowing the playbook or just focusing on your job at hand, whether it be on the offense, the defense, the line, whatever, special teams, doesn't matter. But when you see the opposing team's logo on your practice field, that should motivate you to be more focused, more ticked off, and more prepared. And that's exactly why Sean Payton's doing it. So when the Raiders, the Chargers, let's see, Raiders, Chargers, who else we have on the road? Raiders, Chargers, Texans. We see those logos, or when we see those games coming up, and those logos will be on the 50-yard line. Not all three at one time, of course, but individually, those logos will be on the Broncos 50-yard line of the practice field. Okay? Hopefully it continues to work. because it worked in the Buffalo game last Monday night. All right. Speaking of Monday night, this is an absolute first in the history of Monday Night Football and the NFL. Ready? Here we go. The Denver Broncos game between the Buffalo Bills drew 17.7 million viewers last Monday in their victory. That is the most watched Week 10 Monday Night Football game ever. Wow. 17.7 million. I'm kind of wondering, this isn't just in Denver. This is all across the country. This is Monday Night Football. It's all across where Monday Night Football is watched. 17.7 million viewers watching the Broncos and the Bills. I asked myself, what drew them? Was it to see if the Broncos were for real after they beat Kansas City and after their bye? Or did they expect the Buffalo Bills to just do a pounding like a 70-20 that the Dolphins did earlier in the year against Denver? I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. They watched. And they watched a Broncos team that was underdog by 7.5 or 8 to beat the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, Orchard Park, New York, at night on prime time. 17.7 million watched. The NFL, and this is a footnote, the NFL is much better when the Denver Broncos are good. Absolutely. Much, much better. That proved it. Now, I know a lot of people out there are probably going to say, well, out of the 17.7 viewership, 17.7 million, I should say, viewers, probably 16.0 were watching it because of the Buffalo Bills and they thought it was going to be a beatdown. Well, doesn't matter who they thought was going to win or what the score might be or whatever. That's not the point. The point is it's the most watched Monday Night Football game in Week 10 ever. And yes, the Denver Broncos being a good team makes the NFL that much better. Absolutely. Otherwise, why would they turn in? And again, it doesn't matter if they tuned in to see Denver get their butt kicked because it didn't happen. It didn't happen. But congratulations to the Broncos for being in the history books. Once again, this time on a positive note. So always good. All right. Okay, let's see. Rudy said no like button. But I like when there is no like button, there has to be a like button. On YouTube, there has to be a like button on there. I can't go to it because I'm on the show and doing the show, but there should be a like button, Rudy. If anybody out there wants to kind of point him in the right direction through the chat, there should be a like button right below. Like it's like a thumbs up. That's what it's, a thumbs up. So hit the thumbs up, and that's the like button, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. All right, here we go. Jumped into it already. So here we go, guys. That's right. The jackass of the week. Yes, we have a new jackass of the week. Usually it's one of the ones we've had before, but like Antonio Brown or something. No, it's not Antonio Brown. But it is a member of the NFL currently. Here it is. Saints wide receiver Michael Thomas was arrested last Friday on a misdemeanor battery and criminal mischief, according to Kenner police. Kenner must be a little town or, the department or whatever. Thomas was accused of yelling and had an altercation with a construction worker about what? What do you think that struggle or altercation was? You think it was because he's getting work done in his house and he didn't like the way the work was done? Maybe, possibly. I didn't know until here it is. The altercation with a construction worker about parking his truck in front of his house. All right, guys. All right. Hold on a second. I live on a corner house right here, okay? There's a full-on road right here. Then it curves around. I have a driveway right here, and I have my car parked on the street right here. And I don't park it in the driveway because my wife needs to get out from the garage every now and then. Anyways, there's people always parking along the side here. They're in front of my house, so to speak. I mean, the front door's right here. So, yes, basically and theoretically, they are in front of my house. I've never had an altercation with anybody, whether it be a city worker out here doing drainage or, we have a park adjacent over here, whether or not they're doing something at the park. Never had an issue. I'm not going to go out there and confront somebody. Hey, man, you're parking in front of my house. So what? Who cares if they're parking in front of your house? Hey, guess what? It's a public street, you moron. If it's a public street and you don't own it in front with your mortgage, then they can park wherever the heck they want to park. Why are you getting pissed? He didn't park in front of the driveway. It didn't say he parked in front of the driveway. It said he parked in front of your house. Hey, Thomas, are you really that stupid? Seriously. You're going to go and confront somebody. Oh, but it gets better. Hey, here we go. Thomas was upset that the man began recording him during the altercation, and Thomas threw a brick at the man's windshield of his truck. Now, come on, man. Seriously. You're going to be that upset because a guy parked his freaking work truck in front of your house, not in front of your driveway, because that's not what it said, but in front of your house. And you're going to go out and confront him and get into an altercation and yelling and calling names, most likely. And then you pick up a brick, probably one of the bricks that he had because he's doing construction somewhere, maybe on a wall or something, somebody else's house, because it wasn't Michael Thomas's house. And he throws a freaking brick at the guy's windshield. Seriously. Sometimes I think that head trauma, whatever they call that, CTE or something. I mean, these guys are freaking nuts. Seriously. They're multi-millionaires. More money than I'll ever see. And I don't go out and throw bricks at some construction guy or some guys on the show. Come on, why? What's the point? Oh, well, I'm Mike. You know who I am? I'm Michael Thomas. You don't need to be filming me, man. No, he can film whatever he wants. That's why he's got the evidence as to what happened. These guys have no common sense. None. No common sense. I continue. Thomas also shoved the man and knocked his phone out of his hands because he was upset. The Saints have not commented on Thomas's arrest. Of course they haven't. Of course they haven't. They always keep every organization keeps all of their garbage and whatnot in house. They don't want it out in the public. Well, guess what? When you do stupid things like that in the public, it's going to be out in the public. Saints aren't going to comment. They in the article it went on to say that he was released on bond, but he has a hearing, I believe, this coming week on those charges. Why are these guys this stupid? Why are they this stupid? They have all the talent in the world, but they ain't got no brains up here. They got feet, they got hands, they can run, they can do plays, they can run routes. They ain't got it right here. None whatsoever. I don't know how many times I've done Jackass of the Week about athletes. Seriously. I could probably do Jackass of the Week about other people, but the athletes are the ones in the news, and the athletes are the ones I talk about because I'm in sports. I'm into it. So that's what it is. All right. Before I get going, let me go back to, let's see. Mudungus Creevy in Denver. Mudungus Creevy and his son are in Denver. They're going to go to the Sunday night game against the Minnesota Vikings. And that's I'll be a footnote here, but I'll get into a little bit towards the end. But just a heads up, Mudungus Creevy will not be doing the neighborhood show with me on Sunday night. It will be Cam Parker, also from MHRT, the 5280 podcast. All right. Mudungus also said, Denver's fun. Wish you were here. I wish I was there too, man. I really do. Circumstances will change. I'll get out there one of these days. I guarantee I'll get out there one of these days, and we're just going to have a good old fun time, man. Good old fun time. Shout out to Mudungus from my brother-in-law, Rudy in Vegas. Says, Mudungus, my man. Madungan says, what's up, Rudy? Let's see. Madungan said, did you know that Bill's favorite? No, it's not my favorite team. No, it's not. No, no, no. All right, I got to go on, or I'm going to be caught up in this rabbit hole of chat. But I definitely get back to the chat like I always do. Okay, Sean Payton. The topic of the show is titled, "Has the culture officially been changed in Denver?" Answer: Sean Payton. That's all you need to know. Answer is Sean Payton. Okay, guys, don't even go down there. I know you're going to say, well, Sean Payton, he was the head coach when we only won 1 and lost 5. Yeah, he was. Guess what? Rome wasn't built in a freaking day, and neither are the Denver Broncos with Sean Payton. It takes time. It takes knowing what Sean Payton wants to do, knowing what the offense is capable of doing, and then blending it together. Okay? It's just like when you make a dish to eat. Okay? You don't just take salt and pepper and eat it and say it tastes good. No, you've got to mix it together so it all blends together. And when it blends together, then you've got the perfect recipe. That's what Denver's working on right now. That's exactly what Denver's working on right now. You got the salt, you got the pepper, you got the spices, you've got the meat of it, which is like the linemen or the running backs. You've got what do they call it? Not accent, but the accompaniment kind of flavors. Let's say you got some noodles, and you've got some sauce, and you've got some meat, and you got some vegetables. Each one of them by themselves is fine, but when you put it all together and it blends and it works, it tastes great. And that's what's happening right now. The Denver Broncos in Broncos country is starting to taste great. The wins are starting to happen. It's starting to come together. Let me continue. The culture of the Denver Broncos has definitely changed. It doesn't happen overnight, it didn't happen overnight, like I mentioned, but it has begun to happen with the Broncos snapping the 16-game losing streak against the Kansas City Chiefs and then beating the Buffalo Bills on Monday night. The Broncos coaches and players believe again. There's the key. You've got to believe in what the end product is going to be. You've got to believe that if you stay on course and you do what is needed to be done, and everybody focuses on their job and produces and does their job, then you start to believe. What else makes you and causes you to believe is winning. The Broncos have not had a winning culture for the last 6 seasons. Last 6 seasons, they have not had a winning culture since Super Bowl 50 and 2015. Now with Sean Payton, they're getting that winning culture. Go back to the very first game of the season against the Vegas Raiders. We should have beaten them, lost by 1. Commanders, we should have beaten them. We let them back in the second half. Those games we should have won. Okay? And now we're learning how to win. I say learning in quotes because these guys are professionals. They know what it takes to win. But sometimes when you get behind in games and you feel like it's slipping away, you could start saying to yourself, oh no, here we go again. Here we go again. Me and Madungus Creevy said that for the first 6 games of the season. Here we go again. Oh my gosh. Turnover. Mistake. Here we go again. That's not happening now. What we're saying now is the same thing. Here we go again. But it's a different here we go. Instead of going, oh, here we go again. Now it's yes, here we go again. Yes, here we go again. We can do this. And that's what's happening. When the Broncos beat the Packers, that was a close game. Then when the Broncos put the foot on the Kansas City Chiefs' throat and created 5 turnovers by the Chiefs, and they won 24-9, that to me was the statement by the Denver Broncos that said, we now believe we can win, period. We snapped the 16-game losing streak, and now we're going to our bye week. They went to the bye week. They focused on the Buffalo Bills, and they beat the Buffalo Bills. Okay, guys, go ahead and say it. It was 12 men on the field at the end of the game that caused the Broncos to get another kick. Okay, that's what happens in football. That's what happens in football. It's happened to the Broncos before. There's been penalties. There's been offsides. There's been pass interferences. That's part of the game. And when it happens, you need to take advantage. Denver, Lutz could have missed that that field goal. Lutz could have easily missed it, but he didn't. He put it right down the middle, and that's what you have to do when the other team gives you the second chance to win the game. You put the nail in the proverbial coffin, and that's exactly what the Broncos did. All right, I continue. Peyton is brilliant. He's a brilliant head coach, and we've already begun to see the impact in the short time he's been in Denver. And it's only the beginning. I absolutely agree. It's only the beginning. Only the beginning. And you ask me, why is it only the beginning? He's been here for 9 games? Because he's only been here for 9 games. That's why it's only the beginning. And what I mean by that is we start out 1-5. We're now 4-5. 4-5. Does that mean that we're in the midst of a Broncos turnaround? Of course we are. Of course we are. We started 1-5. We've won 3 straight. We have a chance to go 4 straight. And after that, maybe 5 straight. But we'll get into that down the road. But certainly we'll focus on Sunday's game at the end of the show. Or last segment of the show. But my point being is the Broncos in a turnaround process. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, here it is. In the first half of the season, 9 games to be exact, the Broncos under Sean Payton have turned around the 1-5 start. In the first 6 games, they were 1-5. Now in the last 3, they're 3-0. That makes for a 4-5 record. Listen to this. Their points per game differential went from 33.3. Differential means, let's say you got 10 points, the other team's got 33. That's the differential, okay? Or 43. 33.3 points before to 16 per defense and per the defense. And turnover margin from -5 to +8. +8. All right? Remember, like I said, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither have the Broncos. But we're getting there. We're making progress. We're moving up that ladder. You can't jump from the very bottom and go to the very top. It seldom happens. Seldom happens. And when it does, it never does it with a first-year head coach. Or if it is, it's extremely, extremely rare. All right, I continue. But taking down the Chiefs and the Bills in back-to-back games has pointed Denver on the upward swing. Just a side note, the Broncos hadn't beaten the Chiefs in 8 seasons, and they hadn't won in Buffalo in 17 years. 17 years they hadn't beaten Buffalo in Buffalo. Sean Payton broke those streaks in consecutive games. Have the Broncos turned the corner under Sean Payton? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar they have. Absolutely they have. Will it continue? Well, it's anybody's guess. But as far as I'm concerned, they're heading in the right direction. And can it continue and will it continue? Well, I don't know. That's why they play the games. But we got the Minnesota Vikings upcoming this Sunday night in Denver without Kirk Cousins, but they have a very, very, very capable backup, third string, albeit, in Josh Dobbs. I'll get into that as we get on a little bit later. But what I'm saying is we have a future in our hands because we can control our own destiny. We haven't played the Chargers yet. They're in front of us as far as playoff contention. We need to play the Raiders again. They're not in anybody's contention. But we also have games against the Texans. We have games against the Browns. We have games against. Do we play any? We have two AFC. I mean, two Charger ones. So that's two there. We got the Raiders. That's three. We got the Texans. That's four, and we got the Browns. That's five. And we only got 8 games left. So we got the Vikings, the Lions, and I can't remember who's the last one. Vikings, the Lions. I want to make sure I get this right, guys. I don't like not being correct. Lions and and we also could beat the Patriots. Not that the Patriots are any threat to go to the playoffs, because that ain't happening. But we have out of the remaining games, we already played Buffalo. Out of the remaining games, we have Cleveland, Houston, Chargers, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders. 6 out of the next 8 are AFC teams. We can beat those teams, guys. We can control our own destiny, along with beating Minnesota, along with beating the Lions, although I'm not sold yet on beating the Lions, because the Lions are extremely tough. But then on any given Sunday, any team's tough. All you got to do is look at any given Sunday, any game. Just go back in the season, look at any of these games. You'll be shocked at some of these games that you see. All right. Guess who's back on the Broncos defense? Take a guess. 2-game suspension. That's a hint. Kareem Jackson is back on the Broncos defense going into the game against the Minnesota Vikings. Kareem Jackson is returning from a 2-game suspension, and Sean Payton had some words of advice. Wondering why it's quotes? Okay, here we go. Had some words of advice for Jackson. Payton called Jackson at 8 a.m. last Tuesday, and Jackson said, and I quote, I can't say exactly what Sean Payton's words were, but Payton said this. We're rolling right now. Don't you come in and mess it up, end quote. Don't you come in and mess it up. Sean Payton, was that a tongue-in-cheek? Like, come on. Hey, KJ, man, we're really rolling, man. We're doing great. Right now, we've won 3 straight. You haven't been here for 2 of those 3, but hey, we welcome you back. Just don't screw it up. Don't mess it up. Or is he being serious and saying, hey, Kareem, I'm telling you right now, dude, don't mess it up. Don't screw it up. We got a good thing going right now. And if you do, you may be finding yourself sitting on the bench. I don't know what to think of that comment, what to think of that quote. That's crazy. Welcome back, so to speak. Hey, we're on a roll. Don't come in here and mess it up. End quote. Wow. I'll tell you what, that to me is exactly what I love in a head coach. He's basically putting it out there. Hey, I'm challenging you is basically what he's saying, Kareem. I'm challenging you. You haven't been here for 2 of the 3 wins in a row that we've had. You've been suspended and fined because of your type of hitting. Sean Payton may not agree with the suspension or the fines, and I don't either. But that's beside the point. He was suspended and he was fined. Sean Payton is basically saying, dude, don't do it again. We're on a good roll right now. Don't screw it up. Don't come in here and screw it up. That's exactly what he's saying. And I totally agree. If Kareem Jackson needs to have a fire lit under the backside of his keister, then do it. Motivate these guys. And that's what I love about the culture of this Broncos team now. They have some swagger. They have some moxie. They have an attitude. And that attitude is simply this. Don't mess with us, man, because we'll smack you one. We'll take it to you. We'll go toe-to-toe. I don't mean fighting. I'm talking about gameplay. The Broncos, without Sean Payton in seasons past with Vic Fangio and Vance Joseph and Nathaniel Hackett, they basically, when they got behind or they got punched in the mouth, so to speak, by the score, they would just sit back and lay back and basically just roll over dead. because they didn't have a moxie. They didn't have an identity. They didn't have a culture. They didn't have a winning attitude. Sean Payton comes in, and now he's bringing that winning attitude. And it's showing. And it's showing big time. Absolutely showing big time. And it didn't show any bigger than beating Kansas City and Buffalo in back-to-back games. Sure, there's a bye in between, but it's still back-to-back games because they didn't play a game in the bye week. You don't take down the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs and serious Super Bowl contending Buffalo Bills in Buffalo Orchard Park, New York, without an attitude, without a moxie, without a head coach that believes in this team, that focuses his energy into this team, and the players are responding. That's the difference between the Broncos of Sean Payton and the Broncos of the last 6 seasons. I love it. I love the culture of this team. I hope it continues to go and get stronger. And this defense is once again starting to be that elite defense. In fact, they are, I believe, the 10th best defense in the league right now, when in the first 5 games, they were like 30th. And they've come a very long way. And I have to admit that I was skeptical of Vance Joseph as our defensive coordinator. But I don't know what he's done to change it around. I don't know what transpired or what took place. But the guys are believing, and it's working. It's absolutely working. 5 takeaways against the Kansas City Chiefs and 4 takeaways against the Buffalo Bills. That means business. That means that brings a statement. That brings a statement. You don't think the Minnesota Vikings are looking at that game film going, holy crap, 9 takeaways in 2 games? Seriously? They are going to, and remember, they don't have Kirk Cousins. They have Josh Jacobs. They got Josh Dobbs. Like, I'll get into that, but I'm just saying it's different ball game. It's an absolutely different ball game. They know Josh Allen, and they know Patrick Mahomes. We, the Broncos, don't know Josh Dobbs. That could be our Achilles tendon. Oop. Sorry. Shouldn't have gone down the Achilles tendon road, because that's what why Kirk Cousins isn't on the Minnesota Vikings for the rest of the season. He has a torn Achilles. I didn't mean to say that. Was it a slip of the tongue? Kind of. All right. Let's move on. Okay. Speaking of the Broncos defense, before I do that, let me get back into the chat. Don't want to leave anything out. Okay, Rudy says, yep, next is the playoffs. He also says, because I predicted this. Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right, Rudy. I would love it to death. Now Rudy says, I'll bet you a 30-pack will be in the playoffs. Enough said. Okay, well, we'll have to talk about that. Not a problem. All right, here we go. Speaking of defense, this is from a defensive player on the Denver Broncos' dad. All right? Before I get into what is coming up of what he said now, Patrick Surtain's dad, Patrick Surtain Sr., when the Broncos were in the midst of a 1-5 record, he went publicly and said that he is imploring the Broncos to trade Patrick Surtain II, his son, away from Denver because, and I quote, my son is wasting his talent in Denver, end quote. Wasting his talent in Denver? He's the best freaking corner in the entire NFL. And if he's on a Broncos team that's 1-5 and he still is the best corner in the NFL, how in heaven's name is he wasting his talent away in Denver? Oh, because they may not make the playoffs, senior, or they may not, win a Super Bowl in the first or second year of Sean Payton being the head coach of the Broncos, senior. Is that why? Oh, but now you're going to change your tune. Yeah, let's hear it. When the Broncos were 1-5, Patrick Surtain Sr. said that he wanted his son, PS2, to leave Denver because, and I quote again, he's wasting his talent, end quote. However, after the Broncos win over the Chiefs and Bills, PS Sr. has changed his tune. He now is saying, and I quote, if you put him, PS2, in man-to-man or zone, he's elite. The realest, you heard it from me, end quote. Oh, so now you're okay with PS2 being on the Broncos because now he's not wasting his time. He wasn't wasting it before. I mean, these guys, these people, these parents, I mean, it starts when they're in Pop Warner. Go let my son play more. You're not letting my son play more. It's not about you, dude. It is not about you. You had your time in the NFL in Miami. It's not about you. It's about Patrick Surtain II. It's not about Patrick Surtain Sr. It's about Patrick Surtain II. Plain and simple. But what it comes down to in real life is he's living his career through his son. Patrick Surtain II has come out and said publicly, I don't want to leave Denver. I love Denver. I love the city of Denver. I love the organization, and I love Broncos country. He doesn't want to go anywhere, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So, hey, Senor, get off of your son's back. And now that he's happy and the Broncos are winning, let it happen. Let him enjoy it. Don't make a spectacle because you want to be in the spotlight. You want to be about you, but it's not. It's not about you, Senor. It's about your son, Patrick Surtain II, the greatest and best corner in the NFL today. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I'm glad you finally figured out that being in Denver is perfect for your son. Now shut up and quit letting it be about you. All right. Now, are you ready for this? The Broncos ownership group is more than amazing than what I thought they would be when they bought the Broncos. I was scared to death when they bought the Broncos. I thought for sure they were moving them to Bentonville, Arkansas, out there in somewhere in, BF Egypt or something, and just put them out there and call them the Bellevue Broncos or something. I just didn't. My fear was big time. I have said many, many times that I have recanted that. I now understand that they are full head over heels into Broncos country, Broncos stadium, and the surrounding community. And that's exactly what they're doing with Empower Field. They've already put in over $100,000 into renovations. They put a big freaking scoreboard in there. The concessions, all these different things. They're gonna do a new practice facility at Dove Valley, and it continues, and it will continue as there's two articles about this. All right, here we go. New turf at Empower Field. A new $250,000, that's $250,000, grass field was installed during the bye week at Empower Field. The ownership is maintaining a first-class organization, and it continues week after week, month after month, and year after year. The reason for the new grass is to give the grounds crews and players the safest playable field as the cold months roll in. The Kentucky grass is grown in Plateville, Colorado, and was brought in by 13 semi-trucks, equaling 64,000 square feet of Kentucky grass sod. Wow. $250,000 to replace the football field at Empower Field at Mile High in only 8 home games. That's it. After half of a season, they are replacing the field. You don't think that these guys mean business when it comes to the Broncos, their safety, their health, their field, the fans? I mean, like I said, they put in over, all these concessions, over 100, not 100,000, 100 million. Yeah, 100 million. That's what it was. Not 100,000. What am I saying? Over 100 million for the scoreboard, the concessions, the escalators, the concourses, the snack bar, whatever they're doing, all these things. They're putting money into their investment. Plain and simple. They have the resources. They're doing it because they can. Get this straight. They're doing it because they can, and because they love the Denver Broncos, and they love the city of Denver, and they love the state of Colorado and Broncos country. That's why they're doing it. They're doing it for safety for the players, enjoyment for the fans, and for revenue down the road. It's smart business. Smart business. All right, I move on. I'm going to do this feel-good story, and it's on the heels of what I was saying about the ownership of the Broncos. And this is exactly why I say that the ownership of the Denver Broncos, the Walton Penner ownership group, means business when it comes to the Broncos and the community. Here it is. The ownership of the Broncos continued to support the community, and here is another great way. The Broncos, with support of owner Kerry Walton Penner and head coach Sean Payton, are sponsoring the training of 2 service dogs named Bucky and Thunder in partnership with Canines for Warriors. This is wounded warriors that have come back from wars or come back from battles or come back, not that the United States is in a war right now, but, come back from combat. Maybe they were in wars in the past, whatever, and they are in need of a service dog. I continue. These dogs will be given to 2 warriors who are suffering from PTSD. They are black labs and will be support dogs for these servicemen. And may I say, on behalf of all servicemen across this great country, my heart and my prayers and my thanks and my gratitude goes out to these men and women who put themselves in harm's way so that we can have freedom in this country. So I tip my hat to each and every single service person, service woman, service man out there serving this country. And should you need the services of a service dog in your years after serving and protecting this great country, the least we can do is give you what you need. Thank goodness for Kerry Walton Penner, Sean Payton, the Broncos organization, for partnering with Canines for Wounded Warriors, that these men and women can get the service that they need from these wonderful, loving animals. I'm going to say thanks to the Walton Penner ownership group for doing the right thing. I absolutely commend you 100%. All right. Okay. Whew. Get me choked up right here, man. Hang on, guys. My dad was in the Army in World War II, and I remember him, talking about. He didn't talk about what he did or anything like that, but he talked about respecting the military, and that's why I get choked up. All right, guys. All right, I move on. Okay, I mentioned earlier that the Broncos, we're thinking about, the culture, the new culture of the Broncos as far as winning and the possibility that we could possibly make the playoffs and all of that. Well, there are teams standing in our way. The Chargers are ahead of us. The Chiefs, obviously, but we're not catching them. But we got the Chargers. We got the Browns. We got the Bengals. We have who else? We have the Texans. So we have these teams that are in front of us. But one of them just took a hit last night, Thursday night. Here it is. The Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow is out for the rest of the season with a torn ligament suffered in last night's game against the Baltimore Ravens. He suffered it on his throwing wrist right here, right up in here. Burrow said he felt a pop in the second quarter and wanted to tape up his wrist and go back in the game. But when he tried to grab the football, he couldn't. Surgery is very likely within the next week. Burrow is done for the season. Does that open the door for the Denver Broncos? Well, absolutely it does. But we don't play the Bengals this season. So we can't take care of business ourselves when it comes to head-to-head competition. But with Burrow's out, and I know guys, Kamani calls me Hitman Bill, and that's all fun and games and stuff, but I don't want anybody's career ended. I don't want Kirk Cousins' career ended, and he's out for the Vikings with the torn Achilles. I don't want Joe Burrow's career ended, but he's out with a torn ligament in his wrist. I don't want Deshaun. Well, yeah, maybe I want Deshaun Watson from all of his stuff he did in Houston, but that's beside the point. What I'm saying is, if it opens the door because of things that happen during a game, then okay, so be it. I can't change that. But if it helps the Broncos because they don't have the firepower and the weaponry that they had with the Joe Burrow, then yes, I welcome the chance that the Broncos have the opportunity to make headway towards the playoffs. That's the final goal, is you want to make the playoffs so that you can advance in the playoffs and hopefully get the Super Bowl and win it. And if dominoes are falling, that's not the Broncos' fault. Not at all. We didn't play the Bengals. That's not our fault. And in reality, it's not really anybody's fault. It's the game. It's a physical game. It's football. You hit people. You get hurt. You get injured. Sometimes your career is ended. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. That's the nature of the game. But I'm just saying, and the reason why I brought the Joe Burrows thing in is because it opens the door for the Broncos to possibly jump over the Bengals if that's what they need to do to get in the playoffs. That's why I felt it was significant to bring in. All right. Speaking of playoffs, here we go. Next to the last segment of the show. And here we go, guys. Playoffs. Don't talk to me about play. Well, yeah, let's talk to you about playoffs. Let's talk about playoffs. Why? Because the Broncos are right in the mix. They're right in the mix. And we couldn't have said that when they were 1-5. In fact, myself and Madungus Creevy and others were writing off the Broncos season. Go, wow, I wonder if we were even going to win 5 like Hackett's Broncos team did last year. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, can Nathaniel Hackett really have more wins than Sean Payton as a Broncos head coach? Well, hopefully not. Broncos are sitting around the doorstep of 5. They're 4-5. Let me continue. The Denver Broncos haven't made the playoffs since 2015, the year they won the Super Bowl 50. But after 3 straight wins and looking to make it 4 straight this Sunday night, Denver is just 1 game out of a brutally crowded AFC with a 4-5 record. All right. Even though the Broncos are currently 14th in the conference, the Texans occupy the 7th and final seed with a 5-4 mark. That's very, very important. Why? Because the Broncos play the Vikings this Sunday. The Broncos play the following week at home against the Cleveland Browns. Okay? After that, 3 weeks or 2 weeks from this Sunday, I should say, Denver travels to, you got it, guys, Houston, to face the Texans, who, if they beat, they will jump over them as far as a tiebreaker. Now, if the Broncos can beat the Vikings and beat Cleveland and beat the Texans, that will be 6 in a row. The Broncos' record would be 7-5. They'll be 7-5. And we won't know if Houston's going to win this Sunday or the Sunday after. But even if they do, they would be 7-5. But we would own the tiebreaker because we would have beaten the Texans 2 weeks from Sunday. So you see what I'm saying? That's why it's important to know that the Broncos are talking about playoffs. Yes, we are talking about playoffs. Exactly. Because we have a chance. And we even have a greater chance now with quarterbacks dropping like flies on teams that we're getting ready to play. That's the nature of football. You never know. You never know. Nobody ever gave Broncos a chance to beat the Chiefs. Nobody gave the Broncos a chance to beat the Chiefs. Nobody gave the Broncos to beat the Buffalo Bills. Nobody. I don't even think they gave us a chance to beat the Packers when we did. But that's the beauty of sports. That's the beauty of the game. That's the beauty of football. You always have a chance. Always. I continue. All right. Denver should have the quarterback advantage the next two games with Kirk Cousins of the Vikings and Deshaun Watson of the Browns both out for the remainder of the season with injuries. Denver still has several teams to climb over, but if they continue to win, like I mentioned, it will be theirs to lose. I absolutely 100% agree. 100% agree. If the Broncos can beat the Vikings, beat the Browns, beat the Texans, it's ours to lose. It's ours to lose because we have the Chargers twice and the Raiders the last game of the season. And in between that, we would have the Lions, which is the only team that I think has a chance to beat us at Detroit. And then we would play the Patriots at Denver. We should beat them. I mean, heaven forsake, we lose to the Patriots who've only won 1 or 2 games all season. That would be a meltdown. So the Broncos definitely are staring playoffs right in their face. And it's theirs to reach. It's theirs to grab. It's just right now, it's just barely out of their reach. But that's only because we still have games in hand. And the games in hand that are must wins, as far as my feeling goes, is we have to take care of business one game at a time. It starts with Minnesota this Sunday. Then it rolls on at home against the Browns. And then we play the Texans 2 weeks from this Sunday. Speaking of, and this is the last segment of the show. Thanks, guys, for everybody for being in the chat, for watching the show. Your support, really, really do appreciate it. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. It does wonders for the network and for the show. All right. The matchup between the Minnesota Vikings at the Denver Broncos this Sunday night at Mile High Stadium. Here it is. The Vikings come to Denver for a Sunday night matchup. Josh Dobbs has the Vikings on a 5-game win streak. Okay, guys, hold on. Yes, Josh Dobbs only really won the game, which was last week when he came in. Although he did come in a game against the Falcons and led the Vikings to a win there. And then the Vikings beat the Saints last week. Okay, Dobbs doesn't have much game film on him for teams like the Broncos to study. But when it says the Vikings, he has led the Vikings on 5-game win streak, that's not necessarily correct. So I need to correct that. He's been on the team. It was Kirk Cousins who started that win streak, the first 3 and 3 quarters or whatever of those 5 games that they've won. Dobbs has been there to win the last game and a quarter or whatever and keep the Vikings on that win streak. I continue. Denver is on a 3-game win streak. Denver is favored by 2.5 going in this game. With the Vikings on a 5-game win streak, the Broncos on a 3-game win streak, something has to give. What is it going to be? Is it going to be a Broncos game where they just can't seem to shut down Josh Dobbs because he's an awful lot? And he reminds me an awful lot of a Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes. Don't even think that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. He's elusive in the pocket. He's got legs. He can run like Mahomes. He makes plays with his legs. He makes plays with his arms while he's running. He's got the athleticism of a Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't have the championships of Mahomes. I mean, he's been on 9 teams. Why did 8 other teams get rid of him? I heard they got rid of him because they said he wasn't accurate. Well, what the heck? Go back and look at the game against the Saints or the game against the Falcons. Look pretty accurate to me. Look pretty dang accurate to me. Go back and look at that 2-point conversion on the goal line, or the touchdown that he threw to beat the Saints in the end. Yeah, pretty accurate, I'd say. So the Broncos defense is going to have their hands full. They're going to have their they better be on their A game. Their defense, Broncos defense, better be on their A game. Absolutely on their A game, because Josh Dobbs and that doggone Hawkinson, or that guy is elusive too. And he's a big dude for a tight end. Really big guy. And I don't know if Jefferson's coming back. I don't know if he is. I know he's injured. I'm not sure if he's coming back. But that's all the Broncos need, is to have him back for the game. I mean, it's going to be hard enough to beat the Vikings. They're on a roll. They believe in themselves as well. They're trying to make a playoff spot. And the Broncos are at home. They're trying to make a statement saying it was no fluke against Kansas City. It was no fluke against Buffalo. And now it's not going to be a fluke against the Vikings. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I would hope. I would believe that it would be. I don't know. I have not seen enough of Josh Dobbs to have an idea as to what his faults are. But I know his strength is his ability to run, the ability to keep the plays alive, to throw accurate passes, and to keep the Vikings offense on the field. Denver has got to find a way to stop the Minnesota Vikings offense. And then on the flip side, the Broncos offense has to control the ball. They have to be able to run the ball, and the Vikings are tough against the run. If you watched the game against the Saints, they stopped the run game like nobody's business. They forced Derek Carr to make plays, and they were swarming him. I think Carr was sacked 4 or 5 times. The Vikings defense is solid, and Kevin O'Connell is the Vikings head coach, and I wanted him to be our head coach way back when the Vikings got O'Connell and we took stupid Hackett. I wanted O'Connell as our head coach. So now it's going to be interesting to see if Sean Payton can outwit Kevin O'Connell and get a Broncos win. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. And here's what bothers me. And I'm going to put this up there because there is only one person that said the Broncos would beat the Vikings this coming Sunday. All right? Here are the picks. I'm putting it up on the screen. Is it focused? All right, I'm trying to get it focused, guys. But I can't quite get the numbers right. But what you see on there is right in the middle on the top is one person picking the Broncos. That is it. Everybody else says says Minnesota. I'll read the scores they said. 2017, 21-19, 23-21, 22-21, 23-18, 30-28, 24-23, 23-20, and 23-20. Those are all scores in favor of the Vikings by these guys. These guys in the NFL, the analysts or whatever. One person, A rank, I don't know who that is, picked Denver to win 21-14. That's it. That's the only person that picked the Broncos to win. Why? I say why. Well, first and foremost, they're on a 5-game win streak. Second, Josh Dobbs does seem to be for real. And the Vikings defense is solid. Very, very solid. And that's going to be tough to beat. It's going to be up to Sean Payton to come up with a game plan so that the Broncos can continue their win streak and make it 4 in a row and knock the Vikings off of their 5-game win streak and send them back to Minnesota with a loss. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. I'll give you my final score right after I go back to the the chat. Alex Smith says, hello, Bill. I say, hello, Alex Smith. What's happening, my friend? D-Rock in the house says, Big Bill. I said, Big D-Rock. Let's see. Alex Smith says they knocked him out of the game. Derek, yeah, they did. They actually did knock him out of the game. And that's another fear that I have, Alex, is if we cannot protect Russell Wilson, we could end up losing Russell Wilson in this game. I'm not saying the Vikings are dirty players. That wasn't a dirty hit on Derek Carr. It was just a hit on Derek Carr. Just like the injury against Joe Burrow that I mentioned earlier. He's out for the season. Why? Not because of a dirty hit by the Ravens. No, it just landed on it and felt the ligament, the tendon pop. And then you got Kirk Cousins. I mean, he tears his Achilles. He's out. I mean, these injuries happen every single year. But do I want to happen to Russell Wilson? Absolutely not. I don't. But I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I don't want it to happen. I hope the heck it doesn't happen. But it's all going to come down to if the offensive line can hold up. And I'm not sure they can. I'm really not sure they can. Okay. Yeah, D-Rock says Adam Rank picked us over the. Oh, he did? Adam Rank picked the Broncos over the Bills? Oh, thanks, D-Rock. That might be a good omen. Might be a really, really good omen. I like that. That's awesome. Alex Smith says, we're favored to win in Vegas. Are you talking about beating the Vegas Raiders at the end of the season? Or probably not. That's probably not what you're saying. You're saying that Vegas is picking the Broncos to beat the Vikings. Yes, that the Vegas has it at 2.5 in favor of the Broncos. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. All right, and Alex Smith also says Russ is smart. He just needs to protect himself in the game, and I believe he will. I really hope he does, because I'll tell you what, he's really coming into his own as a Broncos quarterback this year. Under Sean Payton, he's really feeling confident. He's feeling more secure. The game plan is tailored more to not what he used to be like in Seattle when he was younger, but more of what he is now, and utilizing his running backs and the screens and the dump off passes and the handoffs and, the slant patterns, whatever it takes. At this point in his career, he needs to take what the defense is giving. Plain and simple. Don't make it hard on yourself. But then when you do have the opportunity to go downfield and you do have the opportunity to make plays like you did against the Buffalo Bills and Cortland Sutton and pass interference towards the end of the game, then yes, you take advantage of that. Because if that's what they're giving you, take advantage of the very thing. Absolutely take advantage of it. All right, guys, that just about wraps it up for today. Oh, I did tell you I'd give the final score. All right, here it is. 24. Hang on a second. Let me back up. The Denver Broncos scored 24 against the Kansas City Chiefs and beat them 24-9. The Denver Broncos scored 24 against the Buffalo Bills and beat them 24-22. Both high-powered offenses, both high-powered and accurate quarterbacks. The Broncos will score, in my opinion, they will score 24 points this coming Sunday. What will the Vikings have? I have it Denver 24, Minnesota 20. Madungus Creevy, I was on the phone with him before the show. He's in Denver. He just wanted to give me a shout out. He said he predicts the Denver Broncos will win. Are you ready for this? 27-14. Madungus Creevy has the Broncos winning 27-14. That's what he's got. Let's hope he has that. I'd love to see that lopsided, because I don't want to be as nervous as I was against the Buffalo Bills. That game about drove me out of my mind watching that game. All right. D-Rock says 26-24. Okay. I'm hoping that you're not saying Denver has 24 like I did. I don't think that's what you're saying. You're saying Denver 24, Denver 26, Minnesota 24. And then he follows it up. D-Rock follows up by saying Denver will win. Absolutely. I sure hope everybody on that panel that I showed you on my phone, I hope every single one of them is wrong except for Adam Rank. I would love Adam Rank to not only pick the Broncos against the Buffalo Bills, which we won, but also followed up with a back-to-back win that he picks that the Broncos beat the Minnesota Vikings. That's it, guys. That's all I have. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for subscribing. If you have not, please do so. Greatly appreciate it. It takes nothing to do. Just click it. Doesn't cost a thing. but it benefits the show and the network very, very much. Also, hit the like button. I really do appreciate it. That's the best way that you can help out the network and the channel. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. To every single person in the chat, I will always give you guys a shout out, because without you, this show would not be nearly as good as it is. Thanks, guys, each and every week for your input. I'm going down the line. Bawana Beast, thanks so much. My brother-in-law, Rudy Torres from Vegas. Madungus Creevy, who's in Denver with his son for the game Sunday night. Thanks, Madungus, for being in the chat. Alex Smith, always a pleasure. D-Rock, always a pleasure in the house. Really, really do appreciate each and every single one of you week after week after week. You guys have a very, very safe and happy Broncos winning weekend, hopefully. The Denver Broncos game and the neighborhood with not Madungus Creevy. He's going to be at the game. I will be with Cam Parker from 5280 podcast on the MHRT network. He and I will be doing the neighborhood this Sunday night. Monday, I will be doing the Elevation Orange, the recap of the Vikings Broncos game. And then on Friday, but before the Friday show, we have shows all through the week. Remember, guys, have a wonderful, safe Thanksgiving time with your family, your friends, and don't forget to give thanks for all of your many blessings that we all enjoy living in this great country of the United States of America. Thanks again, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your weekend. Let's go Broncos. Let's make it 4 in a row, and let's get a win in Mile High this Sunday night. Till next Friday, or till next Friday on my show, but the neighborhood and the Elevation Orange. Till then, guys, take care. Bye-bye.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle.